So this question looks like a translate word problem question. I say that because it's 4 or more lines long. With translate word problem questions, I just want to read one sentence at a time, make sure I make sense of that sentence, that I'm translating any quantitative information from that sentence prior to moving on to the next sentence. So the first sentence here says approximately 90% of the volume of an iceberg lies below the surface of the water. I'm actually going to draw a picture for this. So iceberg, this is 10% above, and then of course this is under the water. This is 90%. This is my water, H2O. If A represents the volume of an iceberg that lies above the surface, so here is A, and that's volume. Okay, that makes sense, volume. And V represents the total volume of the iceberg, so V would be all of this, which means this bottom part would be V minus A, right? So the total minus the top part should represent the bottom part, or the 90% underwater. Hopefully that makes sense. Which of the following equations best approximates A in terms of V? Okay, so we know that A is 10%, and we know that V is 100%, and we know that V minus A is 90%. When it comes to percentages on the math section here, we always use decimals. So A is 10% of V. Does that make sense? A, the top part, is 10% of the whole thing. It's 10% of the entire thing. And the entire thing in terms of volume is V. So this is the equation. So the only one here that makes sense would be choice C for that reason. None of these other ones would really make sense. Is it true that A, this top region here, represents 10 times the total volume? Absolutely not. It's the smaller part, right? It's only 10% of the total volume, not 10 times the total volume. Is it true that A, this top region, I'll just shade it in. Is it true that the shaded region up top, that we know is just 10% of the total volume, is equal to 90% of the total volume? No, it's the exact opposite of that, so B is gone. We know that, yes, it is true that the A top region is 10% of the total, which is why we choose that answer. And then D is saying that A, just the top region, is equal to 10% of the total, which is true, but then plus 0.9. Well, 0.9 of what? Right, 0.9 represents 90%. So this is incorrect because this 0.9 doesn't really make sense here. So hopefully that makes sense. Choice C is the correct answer here.